does those things, comes to me with the changes, and I just have to approve whether I like it or not. That's exactly how it feels when you're working with these tools. And some of them actually also integrate with existing IDs, like Cloud Code. Cloud Code actually they invented this category actually. So they are ahead of everybody's playing catch up right now, but they work with a lot of the IDs right now, and they work very well with the IDs now. The weaknesses is that they can be pricey. Cloud Code like this, it can be very pricey because the truth is the truth about AI is that these things are expensive to use nowadays because they're like cutting edge. If you want to use the bleeding edge, the most intelligent of these models, which is the Cloud Code with the latest cutting edge, the model is called Sonnet 3.7. That you pay the cost for it because and they have subscriptions. That I think now they have a subscription which is up to like $200. You get it? Um, and 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 for me personally, I'll tell you that for me like this, for the things I do, it's worth it for me because what I can do with Cloud Code, even if I pay $200 for it, I'm sure 5 developers who are working without Cloud Code cannot even challenge me. Like if you're supposed to be like working on a project, I can do so much more with Cloud Code, even for that $200. That's how good these things have gotten to the point whereby me, a chisel guy, crack, can even say that the $200 is worth it because that's like over 2,000 Ghana cedis every month. But these things are really that good. Like they are so good. It's incredible. But the disadvantage about Cloud Code in particular and these terminal-based ones is that they can scare beginners because you sort of like have to use the terminal. So most of the people who are using these things right now are actually existing developers. So let me move on to the big question, which is actually the big question everybody asks nowadays is, should you learn to code? Which is actually the elephant in the room. I strongly believe that yes, you should learn to code, and AI will make it easier and more fun. Now, the market is in a reset. So everybody thinks like, oh, developers are not important, and everybody thinks, and then you are hearing every day that they fired 10,000. Pardon?
Okay.
Is somebody saying something?
No, don't worry. Go ahead.
Okay, so and you hear like they fired developers and all that. It's just a market reset. It is temporary. It is not going to last forever. What's happening is that the market is resetting and shifting towards AI. Now, the thing what you have to know is that all these developers that are now being fired and all these developers are not going to be sleeping. A lot of companies are going to start be created and stuff. So in 5 years, people think developers are not going to be important. But what always happens with with all these, because you have to remember there was a time before we didn't even have JavaScript. There was a time before we didn't even have Java. There was a time before people were writing code with COBOL, with Fortran, with assembly. Like it goes back all the time. Anytime there's a new paradigm of software, there's always this thing that comes away where like, oh, developers are going to go away. But what always happens, and if you've been in the game long enough, you realize that what always happens is that we just figure out how to do more. The bar just goes up because now everybody can do a higher quality app. So the quality of apps just goes up. So now the expectations of human beings just go up. So you will see that there might all be all this market reset, but I guarantee you 5 years from now, the tides will change and now software developers will be in high demand again because all these AI tools and all this AI agents, they still need to be managed by human beings because at the end of the day, they are going to be working for human beings, and human beings are the ones who always drive the intent at the end of the day. So I still believe we should still learn to code, and those who will survive the market reset are the ones who are going to benefit. So I believe learning to code is still a great thing to do. And that's the end. That's all for me for now. And thanks for your time. And if you have any questions, I'll gladly answer them.
Yeah, I think really you've covered a lot of things. I like how you structured it, particularly with the spectrum, right? How people will differentiate between full vibe code, partial vibe codes, and then full codes. I think we should keep these brands in mind. have them be able to try at least, we've been using Replit mostly, and I think that falls in the full vibes category,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Replit is also one.
yeah.
Yeah.
You use Replit? How do you feel about it?
I personally have not used Replit, but I've heard. I mean, they also do mobile apps too. You can do mobile apps with Replit, right? Or
Yes, yes.
something like that.
You can build.
Yeah, yeah.
I see numerous examples of people building full tools. There's this example of a 95-year-old man who did some kind of meeting summary note-taking app for his like
Oh,
retirement group
okay,
or something like that, and
okay, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So Replit is
Yeah.
also one of the really good ones. I think that falls into the full vibes category. But the central question, right, the really juicy question that you answered at the end is, yes, you should learn to, and I 100% agree. Um, it's never going to be the case that developers are not necessary. Um, Developers will always exist to build something better. Even Python, SQL, all these kind of new well, they are not new anymore, but these languages, right? When they came, they were replacing more difficult ways of programming.
Yeah, and a lot of
Python,
people said bad things about them too. Like you can't build serious applications with Python, and they said a lot of things. But Python is basically what builds Google and stuff. Do you get it?
yeah,
So it's the same thing. JavaScript, even Java. When I remember, like I write JavaScript, and when I came and as a developer onto the market, I used to write JavaScript. Like everybody used to diss me. Like they used to be like, why are you writing JavaScript? This toy language. And I used to be like, you guys, you don't know this JavaScript thing to take over the world because it makes it easy to do everything. And then like over time, gradually you see that like now JavaScript has basically taken over the world. And those who used to even laugh at JavaScript now they're all right to JavaScript.
yeah,
So I feel it's just the same thing. I
yeah,
feel it's just the same thing all over again.
yeah, yeah. Python has, I usually tell people that when you are looking at French, certain words, you don't know them from your own vocabulary, but when you look at it, it looks like something that you know. Python had a lot of advantages because he used some English-looking words. SQL is also something that allows you to use English-looking words to pull data from somewhere and then add it to this and things like that. But they all Tableau. Some of these are like no-code data analysis tools that came about. Okay, so now you can do complicated data analysis with Tableau. You don't need to learn this anymore. Never true. Never true. People will always push the bar higher. And one thing that is also said a lot is that the need for programmers is greater than we even imagine. So even though there are going to be possibly more programmers in the system, especially on our side of the world, there are many more that are needed. you know the number of software programmers in Africa is not up to the standard. So if AI is going to help us get a lot more people into software programming, we shouldn't dissuade them from getting into it just because a few people at Facebook have lost their job. They were quite scary. I think Facebook laid off like 10,000, Microsoft laid off like 50,000 people.
Everybody has been laying off engineers. Like the whole vibe, the AI craze is like it's making everybody like they're just laying off engineers left, right,
Yeah,
center. So it's like, but what I feel is going to happen is that all those engineers are going to create companies to rival those other companies
of course.
because now you're basically putting engineers at home who don't have anything to do with laptops. What are they
Yeah.
going to do? They're not good.
They just keep building. They just keep
But just keep
building.
building.
Yeah.
And there'll be winners. There'll be some winners. There'll be a lot of losers, but there'll be some winners. And that's
Yeah.
all. That's what will happen.
Yeah. And then some people point to computer science graduates sometimes not having jobs, right? And say, oh no, don't study computer science. It's like the Bitcoin dip in the market. For me, their value will soon rise. And then again, it's not just because you did computer science that somebody should hire you, what can you actually do? You know, what skills do you bring on board? So now people who think, okay, I'm just a computer designer, all I'll do is do a login page for you, and that's all I think about. All I'll do is, now we are saying learn something else. So those who have other skills that can then pick up software programming and add to it will be better off than someone who their whole life they've been training to only write code, and that is for them their only thing. They cling to it. No, now we are saying if you're a developer, learn marketing. You know, if you're a marketer,
Even if
learn
you're,
coding.
even if you're a developer, sometimes people think like being a developer, you need to do some, being a developer, sometimes you don't even need to write code. Like you can solve people's problems without writing code. Like, let me give you an example. I actually have a client, I met a client, they wanted to use our platform, but like, when I analyzed their requirements, I realized that their needs are not directly because they have some system they're already using. So what I actually even ended up doing for them was rather, I actually ended up rather trying to refine their system with some small software. Do you get it? Not even a lot of software. So we even did some vibe coding, some small interface for them that they can use to manage their warehouse and things. Do you get it? Just to be unique for them. And we did that. It's something we did in just a few days, like 3 days or something. It wasn't any big thing. Do you get it? And there are a lot of those examples in the market. So when people like, sometimes we are thinking too big. You want to create the next Facebook. You want to, no, sometimes you just need something to collect some small 5,000 or 10,000,
You get me.
20,000, and
You get me.
because there's a lot of 20,000, 30,000 lying around in the market because a lot of businesses are inefficient. There's a lot
Yep.
of it lying around. You can just go
Yes.
around and pick it up. Like it's,
But 2,000, 30,000 sec, you go far. Some people just need the 500. They collect $500 here,
yeah.
$200 here, $300 here. How
I'm
much
talking about Ghana
time
city.
did you
When I say
spend in
20,000, I'm talking
getting
about
that
Ghana city.
$3?
I'm
Three
talking
hundred
Ghana city.
dollars.
Yeah,
You
there's a
know?
lot of that in town. Like if you are actually wowed, you can walk around town just using these simple AI solutions to be solving problems for people and collecting their money. You don't need to
Yes.
like you think you need to go and do some fancy thing, but you don't need to do that. Some people just have problem with data collection. Like there's some data that they are collecting I don't know, the month, maybe every day, and then they need to get it into some system. And somebody is there doing manual work, putting in that data. I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that do that today. They don't even know about
Now.
AI tools. Now, I'm telling you, you can just go and build a small AI prompt thing on top of it that just takes maybe the image or the document and converts it into this thing, just a small workflow, and you can collect people's money. Like that's what people need right now. And AI allows you to do a lot of these simple, small solutions for people. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of that lying around. Like it's
Yeah.
cash that's lying around.
100%.
I'll tell you.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So, but then what we also emphasize is that as much as you are doing your vibe coding, learn the basics or the language of software programming. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's really a way of thinking. It's not necessarily one thing or the other because there are multiple languages. Of course, we emphasize Python, but there are multiple languages that you can learn. And it just teaches you how to think from step one to step two. If you're sending your 5-year-old kid to do something, and you know that when they go and you said milk, but when they go, they will see maybe cowbell, they will see needle, and they will see like three others of different sizes. And you haven't told the kid which one you want. So he will come back with something else. You know, all that is part of thinking programmatically, which coding allows you to do. So 100% we encourage learning programming, learning how to use it to solve problems. Yeah, so at this juncture, I think we should take some questions. And we've just been speaking between the two of us, but if there are other people who have questions, yeah, thanks for that. You can please ask if you have any questions about whether or not you should still be learning to program, questions that you have about the area that you'd like to get into, whether it's being disrupted by AI and vibe coding. It's not a very long session, so if you have your questions, you can ask now before we take the break.